Dramatic moment. Hunter's lawyer told prosecutors sweetheart deal was off after judge eviscerated agreement. Apparently, one of the guys yelled out, I think this was Biden lawyer Chris Clark, said, "I don't know what you're trying to accomplish. Then we'll rip it up." He says you can't get around that. So basically what happens is they go in. Hunter Biden's supposed to plead guilty to this sweetheart deal where he gets a slap on the wrist and no jail time. The judge then says, well, hold on there a minute. This doesn't include any FARA violations, any potential FARA, this plea agreement, just tax evasion, right? So are you going to charge him later on? The prosecution says we could. Biden's lawyers are like, hey, no way, no way. The judge then's like, what's going on? Looks at the deals off. They have to go. There's a recess. They negotiate. It looks like the deal might be back on. Now the deal's on hold. Here's what people are speculating. It seems that Hunter Biden's lawyers went to these prosecutors, and the deal was they will not prosecute Hunter on anything if he just accepts these little charges and a slap on the wrist. It only says on paper these charges, but trust us, we're not going to come after you for anything else. But the judge asked the question. If the judge just rubber stamped it, it'd be done, and their backroom deal is done. But the judge was like, what about FARA? Well, the prosecution can't lie. It's a question of fact. Can you charge him? Well, we can. They get mad saying you're double crossing us. That's what it seems like. It seems like some shady backroom dealing to throw some red meat at the press and create a scenario where the media will say Hunter Biden pleads guilty. Look, the DOJ is not biased. They went after the president's own son. What do you mean they're going after Trump for political reasons? They went after the president's son. It's totally non-biased. But that backroom deal was no good when the judge spotted it.
What are the FARA violations? What's FARA?
Was it Foreign Agent Registration Act, something like that? That if you're acting on behalf of a foreign government, you have to register. Oh. And Hunter Biden was with Burisma and probably a bunch of other countries, and he did not.
Well, that's odd. You think personally,
if the judge didn't know this, and if they got any other judge, and that judge was like, looks in order to me, I guess, bang, done.
Wasn't Hunter Biden's computer full of pornography?
Well, yeah, of him.
No.
Yeah, so it's just the whole thing is obviously very, very sad, but it also just shows the state of the culture, right? That, the president, even the first family, right? The son is involved in all these things. And I think it's one thing to talk about tax evasion. It sounds like it happened and he's pleading guilty, but all of these other things, think about it. We don't, I think as a society, we're not hard on porn. We think porn's fine. Most people use it. It's not a big deal. It's legal. And so, Hunter Biden can do all this stuff and it's crazy. And then, but he did tax evasion. So that's the bad thing that he did.
This is crazy. Let me read this.
And all the stuff about prostitutes and strippers. And it's all dark stuff.
Noreika warned lawyers the deal was unprecedented and possibly unconstitutional and could prevent prosecutors from going after Biden for other crimes in the future. She insisted she was acting in Hunter's interest by making sure he knew exactly how much protection he would or would not get under the deal. But she also unloaded on it, sometimes in personal terms about the position it put her in as an arbiter. You keep telling me that I have no role. I shouldn't even be reading this thing, she vented. Her admonitions forced a tense negotiation after the judge left her courtroom. Teams of lawyers faced off in talks for an hour into the hearing. They had to hash out among themselves what exactly they had agreed to, then sell it to a judge who was increasingly skeptical. The end result ended in a politically perilous delay for Biden's campaign, set to be helmed from Wilmington in a state, blah, 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 blah. We get it. This is crazy that the judge was so shocked. The judge said the unprecedented nature of the agreement forced her to step in. But bizarrely, she also said she sympathized with Hunter. Mr. Biden, I know you want to get this over with, she told him at the end of the 3-hour slugfest, which had the effect of pushing off Hunter's plea and extending his legal woes into late summer and the fall as his father gears up his presidential re-election campaign. So maybe Roseanne was right about those military tribunals, right?
Interesting. It still blows my mind that he's gotten away with as much as he's gotten away with. That this is that he might be able to walk away from this with a plea deal. I don't have a whole lot more to add other than it's just really a black pill, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the most emperor has no clothes thing, and that what that metaphor is like everyone can see that the emperor's not wearing anything, but the emperor's telling people, "Oh, I'm wearing a robe," so everyone's like, "Yeah, he's wearing a robe," but they all know he's not, and then it's a little kid that's like, "He's not wearing any clothes." So like we all know Hunter Biden did this stuff. The evidence is there. I mean, I maybe we should say I don't know, but it is very apparent. There's a lot of evidence. And for Joe Biden just to be pretending that it's like not a big deal is the most insane abuse of power, legal authority, and executive authority in this country I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, I saw George Bush take the world to war because of weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen a president do. This is robbing our culture of the truth. It is not healthy. We need to change this.
War is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been happening my whole life. This is like
That's
brainwashing people to be evil.
That doesn't make war less bad, but I get what you're saying. But
This is like, it's like so in plain sight, which makes it, in my opinion, more disgusting. It's like little kids are like, it's okay to lie.
Well,
Joe?
it's interesting because I think, the president is the liar word is a good one for him because he professes this faith. So, I'm Catholic, as many people know. I became Catholic in college, and Joe Biden says he's Catholic. Like he ran kind of on, I'm the Catholic grandpa. I'm this good man. I'm the uniter. I'm this, man of integrity. And, separate from this whole scandal, right? He is the most pro-abortion president, the most pro-sexual deviancy president in probably our history. Maybe Obama was up there on abortion, but he's been more pro-abortion than even Obama. So the White House is a disgrace today.
I gotta
it is
say,
an absolute disgrace. And you saw the topless, woman or man who was dressing as a woman and had fake breasts and was topless. There were 3 that were topless. I mean, what a shame that this has become our White House and our leadership, pro-abortion, pro-sexual deviancy, pro-chaos and unreality. A man is a woman is a man.
And I gotta
now
say,
pro this. It's
Ian,
a shame. It's a
you
shame.
said this is the worst thing he's done, but he also sniffs kids and inappropriately touches them and things like that.
That is very weird too.
It might be the time
it's odd.
The time and the place because I feel like the earth is in the most desperate situation it's ever been in my lifetime right now. And we need real, straightforward leadership. So it's coupled with that. It's
Trump.
like what he did. Yeah, it's not that bad. He just lied about his son being an abusive pornography guy or whatever. But or a lie. He had his son do $1 billion deals. It's okay, it's not as bad as murdering 100,000 people
or murdering 1 million babies, allowing 1 million babies a year to be murdered.
But we need, George Bush had the leeway to take us to war in 2003. We don't have the leeway to mess around right now. This is get your shit together or we're done.
I think he just needs to be voted out ASAP. I mean, there's no, I pray for the president, actually. I believe conversions are possible, but we are in a severe crisis because of this, not just because of this White House. Obviously, it's lending to the problem. There's just systemic rot right now across the country.
I don't know if you were going to ask this, Phil, but what'll happen is if we don't seize moral authority on Earth, it'll become the Economic Forum and the Chinese Communist Party will seize moral authority.
But where do we ground our moral authority, right? And that goes back to the stuff that, we were talking about earlier. But if we don't get first things right, first human rights are protected for the most vulnerable members of a society. If we can't treat the most vulnerable correctly, and if we can't shape, men are off with hookers and pornography and women are on OnlyFans. I mean, all of this cultural chaos that we're enveloped in, where are we going to have the moral authority to go say we're better than China, we're going to go to war with China? We need to fix the rot in our country and in our culture.
I feel like if Ian was dictator of the earth, it would be the most brutal totalitarian regime ever experienced.
It would be one hell of a ride, man.
Forced DMT.
There's no way. Oh, okay. There's no way. I don't think there's any way to dictate Earth. That's the most insane thing. I think
Ian has a lot of good intentions. It's just we got to form the conscience here. Form our morality.
I don't think porn. Well, first, I think porn means a lot of things. There's really horrible sex going on the internet on YouPorn and things. But then there's also really loving sex happening on YouPorn. You see the occasional video of 2 people that really like each other. And
is that a thing, YouPorn? Yeah,
it's YouPorn.com. It's a porn site. Yeah, Xtube. There's
but if it's beautiful, loving sex between 2 people and it's truly loving, then it should be for just them in the context of marriage, and it's gonna potentially bring life into the world because sex is designed to do that, and so they need to be prepared to raise those children, and they shouldn't be selling it for people to watch on the internet. Well, if it's really loving sex,
I've learned how to have sex from certain videos.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Different positions, different rhythms, and that's was helpful for me in the long run. So I don't think it's all evil and we should just never watch ever sex. I personally.
Well, I think that's an interesting question because I think for example, if you're in a marriage and you are wanting to love your spouse better, I think it's absolutely appropriate to learn more about sex so that you can learn how to have the best sex with your spouse. And the best way to do that is with your spouse, right? That's what I think. Not by watching other people have sex.
Well, sometimes if people are in an insulated environment, they just repeat the same thing over and over and over again. That's all they know because they don't know there's other methodologies.
The problem with watching people have sex is typically people do that so that they can have sexual gratification from that.
Yeah,
it's not like a class. I
agree with that because
it's for orgasm. It's pornography for orgasm typically.
If you let your mind think of the person on the video, that's like demoralizing. But if you watch the porn and then think about your girlfriend, that's like a healthy. It feels a lot healthier, and I use the technique on the girlfriend.
Well, I would say that sex is for two people who have committed to each other for life, and that they're in that commitment, they're willing to bring children into the world because sex brings life. Even when you use contraception, it fails. 50% of the people who have abortions were using contraception. So contraception is not some fail safe. It fails. It doesn't always work. And so marriage is the beautiful solution to all of this. And in a marriage, I think you can definitely, maybe study about how do we have sex with each other better, but I don't think pornography has any role in that. I've heard people say, well, we watch porn as a couple in order to have a stronger and more loving relationship, and I don't think that really works in the real world. One of the top reasons for divorce is pornography.
I wonder if
That's
the end result...
the second top reason listed for why people divorce is pornography. At the end of the day, you're sexually visualizing someone who's not your spouse.
I wonder
and you
if
should
the
reserve that for just
end
your
result
spouse,
of
because
all
that's
of
your
this
one flesh you've
is
committed to.
Just like the left upload their brains to computers, and then humans, the conservative humans, just stay and have families and live normal, traditional human lives.
Do you think... what were you say, Phil?
Well, I mean, to Tim's point, I've mentioned before, I think at some point there's going to be like actual protection for people that are not augmented, like the way that we have carved out space for the Amish in the United States, how they don't have to follow the same laws that everyone else does. There will be people that are going to say, I'm not going to get any kind of augmentation or whatever. And there's going to be people that are going to be augmented that are going to have to protect them from other people that are augmented, like real sci-fi kind of shit.
And they're like...
but here's the thing. I mean, the whole thing about, the traditional people will go to the traditional things and then everyone else will go crazy. I think all people... we have the same human nature, and so we have a lot of shared struggles, right? And then bad ideology can make us do bad behaviors that ultimately can warp our natures. But I think all people are called to the same goodness. And so I would say liberals on the left should get married too. They should have children too. They should be faithful too. They should be against pornography and abortion and all these things too. And I think some are. I mean, I know, for example, some more progressives entering the pro-life movement, and a lot of them doing amazing work in the pro-life movement. And many of them are, as they're learning about sex and life and bioethics, many of them are becoming not just pro-life, but they're becoming, okay, I'm pro-marriage, I'm pro these more traditional values, but I can still maybe have more left-leaning beliefs on maybe immigration or these other topics, but they're very passionate about marriage now as well as life, and as what are seen as the more traditional values. So I think the traditional values are not just for conservatives. If it's true, if it's morality, it should be for everybody.
Like, I do think men and women are different. Testosterone, I've noticed. I just started working out like a week, 2 weeks ago, and my testosterone's been out of control. Like my sex drive's been like a rocket. And
Important information.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. And I think of it as like abstinence.
The conversation tonight, especially considering our guest,
Lila's
is killing me. I'm sitting here dying.
She's talking about babies. It's our thing.
I know. But Ian talking about fairly intimate details about his
to the top
history
yes.
and stuff.
Oh, continue. But it feels like abstinence.
I'm loving it.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.